Somebody talk.
Man, fucking
Yeah, man. I was going to say before this mission, I've heard several people say, "I wish they had a camera looking back at Earth as they went away." And I'm going, "What? That would be boring to just sit there and have a camera." Let me finish. Just have a camera pointing back at Earth as they moved away. It's boring. And here we have a camera looking back at Earth as they go away, and it's still not enough.
One thing I've learned, especially with the final experiment, is that it will never be enough. You had actual flat earthers that I assume know what flat earthers want to see. They went out and got it, and it still wasn't enough because it's never enough. It will never be enough. They can fly your ass to space, and you will still say it is not enough. So why constantly change? That's simply not true. Why change? Why constantly go after a continuously moving goalpost? At the end of the day, NASA is perfectly justified to just say, "Fuck you guys, we're not going to meet a continuously changing standard."
Yeah, you can make that up, but what true flat earthers would demand would be non-fallacious, provable things, right? So,
give me an
24-hour sun, the 24-hour sun in Antarctica was
provided.
A point of evidence. Okay.
Yeah, that was provided.
Is evidence towards the globe model, but that doesn't prove the globe model like all the anti-flat earthers claimed it would. It is a point. It leans towards the globe model, right? But it in no shape or form proves the globe.
That's not my point, dude. That's not my point. My point is not whether or not the footage proves or disproves whatever model that's out there. My point is that you still had flat earthers to this day complaining about the footage that was provided, and they went down there. They got 24-hour long time lapses and drone footage and everything like that. And it's like,
but I was supposed to talk to you, and I got muted for talking to you after you didn't respond to me rudely twice. And then you talk about this standard evidence from a group, and I'm asking you to have a casual conversation. Wouldn't you have liked to see any of the things that I asked casually? Wouldn't you have liked to see?
No, I don't care about seeing what you want to see. I saw all I need to understand that the shit wasn't made up.
So yes or no, you wouldn't like to see the astronauts hanging out in that capsule. You wouldn't, if you could have it or not have it, your preference.
You don't always get what you want. Is that such a
difficult concept? Man, yes or no? Just asking you as a man. What would
I want a Bugatti Veyron? Am I going to get one?
Okay, thank you for being honest in a contentious way. Thank you for making us enemies, even though we agree. That's real interesting.
What's the weather like up your own ass? We were never friends.
And Reds, your point where there's this continuously moving goalpost. Flat earthers will never be satisfied no matter what they're presented with. That's just simply not true. You're being dishonest and broad brushing people into what some flat earthers might, but you should not speak for the entire group in that regard.
I'll be more than happy to speak for the entire group. Absolutely.
I know, because you're dishonest and you're extremely biased, right? You're an
We stand up for y'all all the time. All the time we stand up for y'all.
He's observant. He's observed what's happened in the past.
So, no. He's going to say, no matter what's presented, if there was something presented that wasn't fallacious in reasoning, right? If there was something that was proven.
Can I say this? There was a bunch of people who said almost
on the ground.
Dave Weiss, several other people all said that Eric Dubé all said that it would be very telling if there was a 24-hour sun. Every one of them walked that back as soon as the 24-hour sun came. Not only did they go in with it could have been fake, it could have been a big projection studio, blah, 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 blah. But even if it isn't, now I don't think it was at all telling that that there's a 24-hour sun. So yes, whatever you give them, at least the ones that I've observed, they will change the goalpost the second that you come up with that information.
Bingo. Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay, so if they claimed that a 24-hour sun would prove the globe initially, well, then they were just wrong from claiming that initially. And then if they thought about it further after the evidence was put forth, and they're like, actually, you can't do that. You can't prove the globe by.
Was the whole point of the experiment, dude? The whole point of the experiment.
I would agree with that, except they didn't come up with a reason for that. They didn't say,
and there was
here's why I now believe it. No, see, they're not coming up with new information to say, oh, you know what? I said that I would believe it was a globe because, I thought this. But now that I look at it, I found out that this, and this could have happened. Therefore, I no longer think that it's a crucial piece of evidence. That's not what they did. They just started saying, things like, bold assertions that it was filmed in a magic studio. Just essentially total horseshit.
See, I don't even have to go with a magic studio. If the Earth is a globe, then it's going to have a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. There's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, therefore the Earth's a globe? I think that's like a logical fallacy. So I don't even need like a studio, I just don't think that it proves anything. And when they ask me, hey, would you want to go to Antarctica? It's like, no, what would that prove?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a lot. That's how a lot of us felt sorry to cut you off in your response, but that's how a lot of us felt. You know, it was just very sus that all the footage of a 24-hour sun in Antarctica was admittedly looped, wasn't actually 24 hours, and that the cameras, security cameras there weren't providing footage of it. So there was a lot of things that were sus about it to begin with.
That's exactly what Red said, that no matter if we took you all to the moon and brought you back, whoever goes would be crucified by the rest of you guys.
Not if they did it properly. They wouldn't be crucified by a lot of us that are actually seeking the truth.
Fine, except they never define what properly.
Like our live stream, that doesn't cut out to fucking visualizations at crucial points that would prove one way or the other if it was fake.
Crucial to
Antarctica was 24-hour sun and was live streamed at midnight.
What do you want about the 24-hour sun again for?
Does it count as a crucial point to you that they were able to live stream the sun at midnight? Is that a crucial point in your definition?
What are we arguing the 24-hour sun for? I agree.
That's what we were talking about a minute ago.
Avoidance. No, I agree.
You shouldn't even be participating in the argument.
I'm not arguing that they faked the 24-hour sun. He asked a question about.
Talk that is.
He asked a question about if they were able to take someone to the moon and back, then the FE community would ostracize them and crucify them or whatever. So I just don't find that true.
Listen,
not the entire truth.
I hear you. What Weiss did initially was, what Weiss said initially was this. He said, well, we just must not know everything there is to know about how the sun works or what it is. That's what he fucking said. He knew he was going to say that. Then what does he say? He says there's a goddamn sun generator. How fucking stupid is that? You can't sit here and tell us that there was not a third option the entire time that he was going to bail out on. Like, he's literally not going to accept the results because he knows they're going to go against him. People like him, for sure. People that may not be like him will just follow what he says or what other people say, and they will just say, well, I guess we just don't know about the sun, or I guess this is There's literally no way that you're going to have this disproven to you, right? Like, that's what we're trying to say.
So flat Earth proponents, the one who's been speaking the most in the past few minutes, do you have any kind of a model? Like, can you simplify your model down to the Earth is flat.
Wait, okay.
With the continents raised. No, let me finish asking the question, then you can answer.
I wanted to respond to the guy who just said.
I know. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm
sorry. Now, this is great.
We're good.
So the guy just said that no matter what he brought forth will not change my mind. Like, how could you say that?
Yeah.
Honestly, you don't know who I am. You don't know.
I'm not saying you, okay. I'm saying the collective, right? There may be some people there.
Okay.
There were plenty of people
that
went away from FE. Right? Okay. But I didn't say you specifically. I didn't word it wrong. I just said.
You literally did. You literally did say me specifically, but no, I get it. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. If I did, my mistake.
Can I just say though that this whole yeah, you can. But can I just maybe wrap that? Can I just say one thing? The whole last like 10, 15 minutes is all about like people and how people act and what they say on the internet and their beliefs or their thoughts or the phrase they said. That's all like people. I mean, if we're trying to get to what the truth is, the truth just remains what it is. Whether this guy said a thing or that guy said a thing, people love to like lump people into categories like, oh, all flat earthers do this or that. But that's not that dissimilar than when some people do racism. Oh, all of that race does this or that, especially if it has some kind of attacking energy behind it. So I'm just saying like, that's not, I mean, that's interesting as like how humans are and what they do and how they engage and what they say and their psychology. But I'm just saying that's sort of more of just like a sociological side, observation rather than what the actual truth is.
That is exactly why I asked
to get in before the day's over.
All right, let Reds go, and then just hold
bandwidth.
On.
Okay, bandwidth. So fuck the people. What about the bandwidth? Do they not have bandwidth?
Hold on, Don. You can't just bulldoze through. Go ahead, Reds. Go ahead, Reds.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, this is why I didn't understand the point of asking me what I wanted, because what I wanted is not what I have available to me. Okay, what I have available to me is a particular set of observations and measurements that demonstrate that there was it was going to the moon and that kind of thing. That's what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to talk about. So, I believe we were able to get to the bottom of that. That as far as what I actually have to offer, it's those measurements. If you guys wish to talk about those measurements further, I'm more than happy to answer those questions. But as far as asking me like, oh, well, do you think they should have done that? They should have done this. Wouldn't you have liked to see that? Quite frankly, I don't care about those conversations because believe me, if I was involved in NASA, I wouldn't be talking to you guys right now. I'd be in Florida with my new friends.
Okay, so can I just in follow up with that though? Can I ask just out of curiosity though, of the footage they gave, to what level did it satisfy your, whatever would be of interest to you, basically your interest as to documenting the trip. Like we were talking about like ranking it like 1 to 10, and we even had like a lot of Globe Earth folks that have been in this for years that were admitting it was like a 3 was kind of the number, like 3 out of 10. Not, is that kind of where you would lie with it, or was it better or worse than that in your mind? Just along lines. I know you're not. I know what you said there, that you're not necessarily getting what you want. You just get what you got. But I'm just saying, like, how would you rank what you got?
I'm perfectly satisfied with it. I have no notes.
Okay, I'd like to go back to a point where someone said that no matter what evidence, if a flat Earth proponent was flown to the moon and back, the community would crucify them, right? And
Yeah,
that's just not true. Even though some people did crucify Witsit and Jeranism for going to the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, there was a huge proponent of the community that thanked them for doing it and did not crucify them or call them shills or whatever, agents. So
I was just indifferent.
that point's refuted.
So I didn't either thank him or crucify him. I was just like, I can't prove either way what I'm seeing on TV is reality.
Yeah, so the whole point about the whole community, right, generalizing them into one was false to do in the first place.
I did try to add to that, and I got cut off. So go ahead.
I get the one bandwidth question answer.
It's a generic answer. No, it's a generic answer. Yes, it's not everyone. Anytime anybody says everyone, they don't mean everyone. They mean the majority, the vast majority, a lot. Like tremendous.
So I would argue that
it's any number of these things. It's imprecise speech. It could be worded better. That's fine. But now my question was to the guy who was
it's not the majority of the community.
Before everybody stepped on me and like I wasn't able to go through it. I'd like to do it now.
The majority of the community did not call Witsit a shill, an agent.
Okay, cool. I don't care.
So
your my question is now: do you
to the
guy who's speaking before? Oh, for fuck.
If you cared about your argument, you should care. You can't just say I don't care.
Listen to him. Listen to them.
Hey,
what the hell?
Why are you spiraling already? Why don't you calm the fuck down?
The guy is fucking over me. He won't let me fucking finish anything. What the hell is wrong with? Why don't you recognize that is wrong on their part?
Don't obfuscate to a different point without conceding that what you said was wrong.
All right, I don't care. Shut the hell up. Do not talk to me.
You don't care?
Do not talk to me. Right,
it speaks volumes.
I can't hear you.
Mark, you don't care. You don't answer.
No.
You know they have bandwidth. You don't care that they have it.
Everybody just stop for a second. Okay, so what was happening?
Question?
Just stop, Rob. Hold on. So what was happening? Moyak does have something he wanted to bring up, and I understand that he's been delayed on that. But Amphibious felt like he was completing that it wasn't the majority in this discussion. So is there a completion on that? Because Amphibious, I don't think Moyak was the one really. Well, maybe he was kind of partially. But do you want to just complete that and then we can move? I mean, I think Amphibious J was just saying that. I don't know if it was the majority. I mean, what
I said it.
What percentage of people? See, there's all these labels that get thrown around, and who knows if somebody really does have a planar stationary Earth or that term flat Earth cosmology or not. I mean, it's hard to say. We're all just individual humans at the end of the day. But I know people like to put these categories on. But I mean, there were a fair amount of people that did think that.
I'm out later.
So what was the percentage that thought it was fake versus real? I don't know. I think it was probably more than 50 thought it was real.
But how would we verify that percentage? Yep.
Well, that was my contention with what he said, right? He said, "Oh, when we say everybody, we just mean the majority." And then he was insinuating that the majority thought it was fake, and I would argue against that. I would argue it was just a small amount that thought it was fake.
And my only thing I'll say on this, because it was me that was talking, someone cut me off. I let them have the floor, but I was elucidating that, of course, there were people that were converted because of the final experiment. Of course, there were people that were actually interested in what the results were and would accept the results for what they were because it was presented and as a dichotomy. There's no valid reason to say that it's not a dichotomy as far as the people that agreed and went and then changed their minds. And so, yeah, of course there were people that were converted, but there were still a lot of people, especially the talking heads and Flat Earth, that didn't, and that just continued to make up bullshit and spiral and do what we call coping, right? So that's kind of where I am on this.
Okay, I see, Spin. I'd like to address your dichotomy that is false, because if the Earth is not flat and the Earth is not a sphere, then that's a false dichotomy. And we know in reality that the Earth is not flat because we have hills, mountains, and valleys. We also know it's not a sphere because water levels create horizontal planes.
How is it, okay, Rob, how is it possible that the sun is due south in Antarctica? Go ahead.
Don't care about the fucking lights in the sky. I'll start with that.
Okay, so a flat Earth in a different sense than you just fucking presented it to me is impossible. Do you agree?
How about you steel man the flat Earth for me?
Why don't you fucking steel man the flat Earth? Nobody knows what the hell you're talking about.
Right. Okay, so flat Earth is just a topic that we discuss in here. even though the Earth shows somewhat planar, when you go to the ocean and look at the horizon, you seem to think that that's a curved line that you're looking at, even though it's
This is a
horizontal.
load of bullshit, Rob. Tell me what the fuck
Rob,
the
man.
flat Earth is. Tell me what the fuck the flat Earth is. Is it a disc? Is it a square? Is it a prism? Is it a fucking cylinder? What the fuck is flat Earth?
How about you
Go
ask
ahead.
a flat earther, right? Just instead of asking like a non-flat earther what the flat earther is, what the flat Earth is. Well, nobody's here claiming paper Earth with like 100% flatness.
Wait a second.
So
Are
when
you
people,
interrupting? Are you interrupting Rob, who is most fucking certainly a flat earther?
No, you
wait,
labeled me a flat earther.
Rob, are you a flat earther and you're claiming the Earth can't be flat? Is that what I heard you say? Can't be flat
No,
because there's mountains and
He was
valleys.
using it in a different sense and equivocating. Go ahead.
equivocating flat Earth to what?
Did I hear a
You
flat
know
earther
what
say
the
the
fuck
Earth
we
can't be
mean when we
flat?
say flat Earth. We don't mean hills and bumps and mountains. Everybody has a set of goddamn eyes and they can see that there's a mountain over there and there's a tree over there and there's a hill over there.
So
So
the
quit
Earth's
playing
not flat
stupid.
then, right?
Hey, quick question: is a pizza flat?
Quick question: will a flat earther say the Earth's not flat?
Question,
Will a
dumb.
flat earther say the Earth's not flat because there's mountains? I don't think flat earthers say that. I think trolls say that.
The fact that you're triggered at that question speaks volumes. Thank you for that.
Nobody
so
here is
Rob,
you just asked
you
me if
know
a
that you
fucking
can't.
pizza was flat. No, a pizza is not flat.
Okay,
Fuck.
get off the meta and answer my question. What do you mean by flat Earth?
No. I don't think the Earth is flat, but I accept that you guys give me the label as a flat earther because I don't believe the Earth is a sphere flying through a vacuum of nothingness.
Okay, that's fair. You accept it. So my question would be, how is it logically possible on the Gleason's map for an observation of the sun above the horizon due south in Antarctica?
I'm going to stop you right there because I don't use a Gleason map to say that that's my world.
Well, that's the point is that you can't because you don't have a model.
Because
Right?
I don't. Fuck. I don't use
Well,
a
you don't.
Gleason map, which is a projection of the celestial globe that you guys think you live on.
What's the
Go
reason you
ahead.
don't have a specific model, Rob?
Because I don't need one to live in reality and
No, it's because you can't. It's because you can't make one, right?
I do in life. What? Because I can't make one? I don't need to make one to live out my entire existence on Earth.
It's because you can't explain things that require explanation
What
with
do I
any
need to
specific
explain?
model
What?
besides the globe. That's the answer.
Okay, cool. I see. What do I need to explain?
It's your choice whether you want to explain it to yourself or not, but I would certainly require an explanation for things like how the fuck does the sun go outside of the dome? Or why did it go over there? Why did it go over there at this particular point, right?
On a dome.
Why can we see sunspots no matter where we are on the Earth? Given that we can see, say, somewhere in Ireland and somewhere in Virginia at the same time, we can both see the sun and we observe the exact same sunspots in the exact same position, given there might be a different rotational orientation, which is predicted again by the globe. But why is that possible? Why don't they see different parts of the sun at any two places on Earth at one given time? There's never been an observation of different sunspots in the correct position. Again, save for the rotational orientation that would be expected based on your longitude. Your latitude.
Yeah,
that's another issue. Oh, the sky doesn't predict the ground. See, like there's this defense mechanism where logically, using geometry, we are able to make these predictions with the globe, and we're able to make explanations, and we're able to make useful predictions that tell us things about the future that we wouldn't otherwise know if we didn't have a model that worked.
Cool.
Explanations are not equivalent to experimentation or demonstration.
That's fine. Do you have any other quips you want to add? Cool.
No, you can rebut what I said and quit acting like explanation is like the height of science.
Well, how about this? Why don't you pick up where Rob couldn't answer the fucking question and tell me what the flat Earth is?
The observation that we can see too far given the diameter of the globe.
Cool. Does anybody else want to take a fucking shot at the goddamn question that I'm asking?
Well, he's responding to a component of that the Earth is observably planar.
Locally?
Is that not a part of what you might be perceiving as flat Earth? I mean, dude, like humans have thought the Earth had a generally like the planar. I know Rob was saying before, like the mountains and undulations, and there are a few people that kind of go into that because obviously there's elevation changes. But I mean, just like if you have a table that has a bunch of bumps on it, you wouldn't call it flat. But if it was observably flat, you might call it flat. But then if you zoomed in with a microscope, you would see little divots. But anyways,
which is why Reds asked if a pizza was flat.
Yeah, I know. So it's all kind of relative to like scale and how you're defining it. Because I mean, flat is also an orientation, like a horizontal orientation. Like if you have a painting, you could say, okay, this painting's got the surface of it, but I'm going to put it vertical on the wall. Or you could say, I'm going to put that painting down flat on the floor, as an orientation. So the word flat kind of does mean multiple things. That's why I often say like a foundational planar geometry, because there would be a foundation of the planar nature in terms of like water finding its level, but of course you have tides in the ocean. Then you have elevation. What is sea level? Well, now sea level is, you know, subject to change for the tides. So what really is perfectly flat when it comes to the Earth?
I brought it up because it was an unnecessary tangent. When we're talking about flat Earth, we understand that flat earthers believe in topology. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I think anti-flat earthers, when they bring up flat Earth.
You got to start over. I think the whole cut out for a minute.
Sorry, I just said I think when anti-flat earthers refer to flat earthers, they're just referring to people who don't accept the mainstream globe, right?
Basically, it's anyone that believes that the Earth is flat with topography. So yes, mountains, valleys, that kind of thing.
No, it's just the denial of the sphere Earth makes us flat earthers in your eyes.
Yeah, that's what a lot of.
And claiming that 71% of the surface doesn't curve or drop. That indicates flat Earth.
I'll tell you this, I never met a person that believes the Earth is a tetrahedron.
Yeah, but they're concave earthers, right?
That's still curved, just in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I know that. What's your point?
My point is we wouldn't confuse them with flat Earth. Now, would we?
Yeah, but I mean, are we all on the same page as far as we know? Like through all of human history, humans had a planar and stationary Earth type of cosmology until the globe. I mean, concave is like a very small representation. And
let me go ahead, for the sake of argument, grant you that. Let's go ahead and grant that throughout history, people were underneath the assumption that we lived on a flat Earth with topography. Does that matter now, given what we have available to us? Because we have access to pretty sweet kits that can tell us exactly, you know, the shape of the Earth that we're on. We can make measurements, we can do surveys, and we have this global internet where we can all come together and make simultaneous observations around this reality that we all inhabit. And when we do all these things and we put all these things together, we come up to only one model that accurately models reality, and that is the globe.
How can you tell the Earth's a globe if there's always refraction?
Because unfortunately for you, refraction cannot be everywhere in the extremes that you would need it to be in order for flat Earth to be accurate. So for example, let me give you an example. In order for the flat Earth to make any sense whatsoever, the angular size of the sun would have to change throughout the day by a factor of 2. You will never find anywhere on Earth refraction so severe that it would magnify the sun by literally twice. That does not happen. The amount of refraction that we see very, very close to the horizon is minimal. We're talking maybe 1/16th of the sun's actual solar diameter, the way it appears to us in the sky. So if you can please point to anywhere on Earth where the amount of refraction was actually observed, where it would be necessary in order for flat Earth to be accurate in any way, shape, or form, I would love to see it. But not once has that actually been presented to me.
Yeah, that's not my claim. So I'm not presenting it.
But do you agree with what he's saying, though?
No, I haven't looked into it. As far as I know, the way that a laser light works, if I shine it right in front of me, it's going to be a really small pinpoint, right? But if I shine it like 100 yards away, it's going to like spread out. So I would imagine that the sunlight not being collimated is going to do something similar.
Except we can actually use solar filter to break out the glare, and you can see the actual solar face. And that's why the sunspots are very, very important, because it doesn't matter where you are. If we see the exact same sunspots and the exact same spot relative to each other all over the planet, that's something that flat Earth does not predict.
You're saying like if I shine like a green laser light at you from 100 yards away, there's a filter you can make the light like shrink back down to its original diameter from 1 foot away, like the size of a number 2 pencil eraser?
Yeah, you're talking about glare. If I were to look at the sun through unfiltered lenses, it would look much, much bigger. That's similar to your laser lights. But if I were to have a filter on it that can block out 99.99% the light that hits it, thus filtering out the glare, you would be able to identify the point light source that's actually responsible for the light in the first place.
You said yeah, and I don't know you well enough to mean, I don't know you well enough to understand if that answer is yes. If you do shine a laser light 100 yards away, you cannot put a filter on and shrink it back down to its number 2 pencil size from 1 foot away. You do understand that, right?
Would you like to bet and actually place money on that?
I don't gamble, so no.
Okay, then I would like to talk to someone that has confidence in their position.
Oh, because someone doesn't have a gambling addiction, you assume that means they have no confidence? Okay.
No, I'm saying you have no confidence because you didn't even attempt to make the bet, even if it was for $2.
I don't gamble ever, like anywhere. I don't even invest in the stock market.
What about $1? Is that good?
That would be gambling.
What about
I'm not
56?
going to get it back.
Anyway, I don't think you can shrink the laser light back into the column once it's spread out. That's my understanding.
Well, it's great that you think that.
What would you do if
Tell me
someone
that there
came?
are laser. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say something smart, so you should go.
I'm just curious. Is anybody selling these laser lights that don't spread out whenever you shine them over long distances? Because I'd like to get one for my cat.
Yeah, but the only thing a solar filter really does is block out all the light, so you only see the source of that energy of that light.
Correct, the focal. So if you have a sun that has a lot of glare because the sun is really, really, really bright, that's going to appear in the lens as bigger than it actually is. But if you were to look at through a solar filter, you would see the actual solar face without that glare around it. And so what I did with the P1000, the flat earther camera choice, was I put a solar filter on it and I tracked the sun all day long. The flat earth predicts that the sun should change in angular size. It did not. It stayed the exact same size throughout the day. There was some distortion. It squashed when it got really, really, really close to the horizon. But the flat earther predicted a continuous size change. And I did not see that. So if the flat earth makes a prediction, and that prediction, hang on. So if the flat earth makes a prediction, but that prediction turns out to not be the case, what am I to get to that? What am I to get from that?
Well, just like with any model, you would scrap that model or theory and go find a better model or theory. So, often think about dark matter and dark energy and the modified Newtonian dynamic theory being a much better theory. But there's still a lot of people stuck in the old paradigm. And Thomas Kuhn kind of came up with this whole cycle about people that get stuck in a paradigm. Me, I'm open to all information. Like, show me your new paradigm, show me your new information. I don't think people should get stuck in dogmatic loops.
Cool, but you said something I agree with, and that statement was, well, you would scrap the model if it didn't work. And that's exactly what I did to the flat earth. It didn't work.
Neither.
So how's the 96% of the missing mass and energy for the globe model working?
Bingo.
Hold on.
And
That doesn't need to affect anything for it to still be a globe. You understand that, right? Like your inability to
I'm talking about the standard.
Yeah, your inability to actually perceive like the separation between like the globe and the universe is astonishing.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the standard model of cosmology, right? That all globers agree to, except for the new people who are coming out and saying this modified Newtonian dynamics thing is a much better model, right? So when I'm saying scrap the globe, yeah, you're right. I misspoke.
Everyone in the whole fucking place sees what you're doing. It's a diversion.
Here's the thing: Newtonian physics is physics. I'm talking about basic geometry. You can come up with any grounds of physics that you would like for why it is a sphere. That's a separate question of, is it a sphere at all? We know that it is a sphere. If you wish to discuss why we believe it manifested itself into a sphere, then what you said would be relevant.
What I'm trying to address is the double standard that you guys say, hey, we should throw out flat Earth because it doesn't match the observations, but then I throw it right back in your face and say, well, what about the standard model of cosmology?
Because the standard model of cosmology doesn't match. It has nothing to do with the shape.
It's a non sequitur.
Yeah.
Non sequitur.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the lack of curvature does not match the globe model.
I don't see any lack of curvature.
You don't see it because you haven't measured for it.
I mean, I haven't measured for it. I've measured things below me that should be at eye level or above me. Therefore, it's curved.
I just thought we were in agreement that if the observation doesn't fit the theory or the model, that we should throw out the theory of the model. So do you people still accept lambda-CDM?
Are you changing the subject?
I think
No, I'm on the same subject. We agreed. Okay, I found common ground with Red's rhetoric that we agree when something doesn't fit the model, you scrap the model or theory, right? Did everybody hear that?
If I were to go to the standard model, is there anywhere within the standard model that indicates that the Earth is a sphere via geometry or
the bandwidth? The limited bandwidth, I think, is kind of the issue on the way to Artemis. Like that kind of proves the Earth, right?
No, I'm talking about geometry, dude. I'm talking about geometry. So if the geometry by itself, without referencing physics at all, indicate globe, I don't need to reference physics. I can get away with geometry and be just fine.
Well, then you completely understand why the flat earthers would say that I can see too far. The geometry's telling me it's not a globe. So forget about what the sun's doing. We observe the Earth being flat and stationary.
Except when you don't see too far, right? When you see too far, doesn't that just necessarily mean, or it's like when you don't see too far, doesn't that literally just mean that the Earth is curved? Or is it just going to be picking and choosing on your part?
No, you're pretending we don't have a limit.
Correlation isn't causation.
Okay, so when you say that we see too far, then you're just kicking yourself in the mouth, then, right?
No, we see too far.
No, that's
according to the
Always?
curvature rate. According to the curvature rate that's supposed to be there, that can be broken. That has been broken. Just
Which
because
is
we
why
can't see to Paris from the United States doesn't mean that that it's because of curvature. You see the disconnect. And
No,
then
I don't see
also,
exactly what I can't really like make out exactly what coherent point you're trying to make.
wow. Okay. So I know it's a little.
I know.
above
Please
your
try
head,
and dumb it down to
right?
me like
So,
I'm a fourth grader.
So I was just pointing out your hypocrisy and saying that we should see forever. And then when we don't see forever, it's because of Earth curvature. It's ridiculous. Your point. Second,
No,
you act
we,
like your
we
high
should
priest.
be able,
You act like the globe model is all buttoned up and sewn up perfectly, and everything works like
well,
clockwork.
you haven't been able to get around it, have you?
Now you have your high priests. Yeah, you can chime in and say that, but
I
so
just
you have
did.
your high priests don't even agree with each other.
We don't
You
have priests. It's not a religion. I did my own observations, my own measurements.
okay, so your high priests, all these astrophysicists, they don't even agree with the model. So you can't
I
claim
referenced
to
them at
have a
all.
working model
Doesn't have
when
to do with
your
Earth.
own when your own high priest don't
I
agree.
don't reference them. I don't
Yeah,
go to NASA, ESA, JAXA, SpaceX, ULA, Boeing, Sierra Nevada Corporation, or any of these other entities. I do my own work. You're talking to me, not Neil deGrasse Tyson.
That's not part of the script, Red.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was my bad. Okay. So please
so
let me
how
know
do
what I
you
need to do to play
explain?
the part.
So explain all these measurements that were performed that showed there wasn't the required curvature that the globe claimed.
You can name one. Because, like, remember the Jeranism headlight above his, or him holding a flashlight over his head? Would that count as an observation? Because the results of that one were interesting.
Yeah. Did you see where he went back and then goes, "Oh wait, this is why this."
Oh, I see.
Didn't.
So you weren't
But
referring
then
to
they don't
that
air
one.
that. But then they don't air that. What about
You
all the
weren't
measurements
referring
by
to that
Dr.
one. So
John?
how about you tell me which ones you're referring to, and then we'll go from there.
Don't
Tell me which
scattergun.
ones you're referring to.
Don't
Tell me
scattergun.
which ones.
I'm trying to provide some. How about Dr. John? How about DJ? They've
You're
provided.
just saying names. You're just saying names at this point.
I can provide the videos if you want me to.
I'm asking you to provide the methodology, the results.
Yeah, the
and what
video shows
conclusion
all
is.
of that.
So you don't actually know the methodology? You can't just
I
tell
know
me?
exactly the methodology.
Then explain it. Do it. I dare you. Go. Tell me the methodology. Tell me the methodology.
Watch it.
We're getting nowhere then. If you're not going to explain it, I'm not going to bother.
Who would have thought?
By the way, Astronomy Live had just popped in here, and then he popped out. So I don't know. He did just pop in for a second because yeah, we were mentioning his observations and videos earlier.
All right, thanks. I'll miss it.
Well, I just didn't know when he popped in if he thought it was, because we've shifted topics from that, but I don't know if there was still stuff we wanted to cover on that.
Thanks.
There you go. Instead of listening to me butcher it, you can get it straight from the video.
Do you want to present it by some chance, so you can like kind of walk us through what this video is showing, or?
I didn't see him post one yet. I mean, if there's kind of a lull, well, Astronomy Live's back. I see Astronomy Live. Are you there? Because yeah, we were talking about some of your footage earlier.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just doing some yard work here, so I've got a minute to answer questions, but that's about it.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Sharma, for coming over. We had I always forget his name, Mo Walker, whatever the dude was in here earlier, the Glober. He was curious about sort of how the tracking worked and about what the distance. I know that was another thing that was brought up, was the distance from Earth that you were able to actually get data, and sort of maybe just like, I don't know, the elevator pitch of what what you learned, and maybe like if you were able to line those up with your predictions.
Yeah, sure. So basically, obviously, we were there for the launch and filming that. That night, I tracked it while they were still in an elliptical orbit before they did the TLI burn, the translunar injection burn. Based on that tracking, I predicted what the orbit should be. I calculated for the orbit and came up with an inclination of about 28.3 degrees, which is within about 0.3 degrees of the latitude of the launch site, which is exactly what we expect, because the rocket, as we saw, it launched due east. So its inclination will take on the latitude of the launch site when that happens. And that's exactly what we see. So that tells us, it launched from Floridian latitude. And then after TLI, what I did is I calculated what should happen if they burn for the moon. I did a simulation in Orbiter Spaceflight Simulator, which is a program that uses real physics to simulate what happens to a spacecraft. And I generated a prediction of where I should see it in the sky if they actually performed a burn for the moon. So using that, I did a search and found it after the TLI burn within a couple degrees of my prediction. So from there, I continued tracking it and calculated the orbit again based on now the post-TLI orbit, the orbit after they burned for the moon. I was able to get it on subsequent nights using that orbit determination. So again, I'm not asking NASA where it is. I'm going based on where I found it. And again, after TLI, I continue to have about a 28-degree inclination consistent with the launch site. In fact, my data shows that at the time of the TLI burn, or rather when it was last closest to Earth, the last perigee was exactly in line with the timing of when NASA said they were doing that TLI burn. And they naturally do that at the point where it's closest to Earth to extend the opposite side of the orbit, 180 degrees away. Oops. Sorry, I accidentally activated my camera there. Hopefully I'm still on mic. So they extended the orbit, the apogee of the orbit to reach the moon. My calculation, based on my data, showed that at the time it was last closest to Earth, that was the time of the TLI burn, and that they were over a Floridian latitude, the latitude of the launch pad. And that's because the core stage of the rocket is designed to do some of the work of extending that orbit right off the bat. They don't do what they did in Apollo, which is to go into a circular parking orbit. They actually start to go into an elliptical orbit right away using the core stage. And so that bakes in the point where it's closest to Earth and the point where it's furthest from Earth as being the point where it's furthest from Earth will be directly opposite the launch pad. So at a negative latitude, negative 28 degrees. And this is why they go to the moon when the moon is very low in declination. Because of the way the rocket's designed, that's when they can go to the moon. So I continued to track them out to the moon. I used both my telescope here in Florida and a telescope in Utah to measure them on a following night using my orbit, and I directly measured their distance using parallax at a distance of about 325,000 kilometers, an altitude of about 325,000 kilometers, which is about 86% the way to the moon. And then I continued to track them after the lunar flyby using various telescopes around the world on the iTelescope network, and then again with my telescope in Florida the day of reentry. And on that day, after I did my last webcast, and I took off the video camera, I put a film camera in its place, focused the film camera, and took a couple pictures. And sure enough, there was the spacecraft. If you extend a line through where it was at the end of my webcast, that line intersects the motion of the same dot on film minutes later. So it shows that that is the continuing motion of the spacecraft. And from that data, I was able to correctly identify where they were going to come down in the Pacific, where they were going to hit the atmosphere. So that, and I was able to confirm the timing of when that would happen to within a couple minutes. So all in all, like it's a perfect confirmation of the mission in terms of when they left Earth, when they went around the moon. And you can see in the video I posted on my channel, I matched up the photos that they took based on the timestamps that are in the EXIF data to what my orbit determination says they should have seen at that time, and it's a perfect match. And then in terms of the splashdown, I correctly identified where reentry would occur. We see reentry occurring on geostationary weather satellites, and of course they splash down off the coast of San Diego, which is what my trajectory data predicts.
Awesome, thank you. So I know that the Press Don has a question he's been aching to ask, but just before he asks it, does anyone have questions for Astronomy Live about his observations specifically, or anything that crossed your mind while he was speaking?
What Don may have the question that I knew was asked, and I don't really have the question, but it was a question about resolution and being able to make it out as a dot of light.
Yeah, so given the size of the spacecraft at the distance of the moon or thereabouts, its angular size ought to be about 0.01 arc seconds, where 1 arc second is 1/3600th of a degree. Now, my images are generally about 1 arc second in resolution, and my telescope has a theoretical limit of about 0.4 arc seconds, even my 11-inch scope. So there's no telescope I have or have access to, there's no way I should be able to resolve it as more than a point-like light source, but I don't have to resolve it as more than a point-like source in order to correctly track it and identify it. And that's exactly what I did. It'll show up, but it'll show up as a star-like object, right? It would have to be a lot closer, like the space station or Hubble, for me to resolve the shape. So maybe on Artemis 3, when they do some Earth orbit testing, maybe that'll be possible then, depending on the orbit they select. But in terms of going out to the moon, there's no telescope on Earth that has enough resolution to resolve the hardware we left on the moon. And the same is true of spacecraft orbiting the moon. They're going to be too far away for a telescope to optically resolve as more than a point-light source. So we have to use things like astrometry and measuring the orbit and measuring its distance with parallax to positively identify what it is and where it came from.
Okay, so you're saying you weren't able to get the proper resolution on this past Artemis 2 mission during the Earth's orbit because they did an Earth's orbit thing. It wasn't in the right spot. Is that your play?
Well, I tracked it that first night, but even in that initial orbit, because of the design of the spacecraft, they immediately go into an elliptical orbit. It's not just a nice circular Earth orbit like you see with Space Station or Hubble or anything like that. They're going out thousands of miles immediately.
So wouldn't you expect that with Artemis 3 or 4? Sorry to cut you off.
Well, with Artemis 3, they're saying they're going to test docking to the human landing system in Earth orbit. They haven't announced yet what that orbit will be. If it were in a space station-like orbit, in a 400, 500 kilometer orbit, then yeah, it would be possible to resolve the spacecraft with my scope. But the initial orbit they were sitting in that first night was still far too high to resolve it as more than a point light source.
So hopefully, I don't know if you know people there, but this kind of brings like all the questions like together, like the bandwidth, the resolution, the new mission, right? Like I know 3 is already planned, but thank God they got the 20 billion coming for the missions after that. I think I'd heard this, and help push as much of this if you know people like from the good side of it, right? Like I hear they're going to drop a car too. Like there's one on Mars, and it's going to be able to look around. We're going to be like a lot more live or more stuff from the moon, and they're going to have a beam. It's going to beam back, so we really can see from there, right? Something on the moon. Like the light will be brighter. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be like a bright light. And the bandwidth. What do we got to do? Is Starlink helping with the bandwidth? And since it's like a 90-minute orbit, don't we get at least 45 minutes of connection with them when they're on that half, right there, of our half? Or how much time do we get?
So let's say they're in a low Earth orbit on the next mission. I think they may actually still go for an elliptical orbit, because again, it's kind of how SLS is designed. You don't get much advantage of the core stage unless you do that. But the deal with a low orbit, even if they go there, in terms of a ground station, you're only going to see them for about 9 or 10 minutes at max. Really, more like 5 or 6 that are good visibility, well above the horizon for any given spot on Earth. In terms of bandwidth, they do they did test an optical transmission system that uses an infrared laser to beam back to a site on Earth. But you would probably have to be pretty close to the site where they're beaming that data to actually see it. Theoretically, yeah, if I brought my scope wherever that site is, whether it's Goldstone or whatever, and set it up nearby and put a camera on there that's sensitive to infrared, then yeah, maybe I could pick up something, maybe.
Oh, well, I mean, what do you know? I'm sorry, what do you know about their capabilities a bit? Like for the little hangout interviews that they did where the one guy was laying down on the left, like that was like a live, like they were talking to people live with that, right?
Yeah, and that can be from radio transmissions, honestly. But if you've got a big enough receiving dish, I mean, some of these receiving dishes, they're like 60 meters in size. They're huge.
But like, I'm kind of like, I want them to be connected more. I feel like, but anytime I'm like, hey man, like we would like some more about, streaming back. A lot of the just common Globers, it seems that their go-to response is like this limited bandwidth type response. It's like, that's, not that it's really should matter, but like, I want to have more specs of like being able to tell them, well, no, the professional told me like, really, what do you mean bandwidth? Shouldn't they be able to stream to us as much as if they wanted to consistently stream, maybe half of the Earth couldn't receive it, but don't they have the power to send a signal to us constantly?
They are. Well, they are. I mean, they're generally sending a signal to us more or less constantly.
A live video.
There's handover point where it's even when they're that far from Earth, right? There's going to be times when they're handing over from one antenna to another, one dish to another. Some of those dishes don't have even send capability necessarily set up at the time. So they would have periods of time where they were calling in the blind from the spacecraft, because Houston would have a period of maybe 20 minutes where they couldn't transmit back. They could hear what they were saying, but they couldn't transmit back. And those probably also correlate, I'm guessing, with smaller dishes in some cases that might not have as much bandwidth. So the bandwidth varies depending on the receiving station, the size of that dish, and what's available at that time. You have big dishes at places like Goldstone, but they may not always be oriented with a spot where they can view the spacecraft. So yeah, and with optical transmission, although that increases your bandwidth, it also increases your requirements. That doesn't work if it's cloudy. So even something like a cloud can come along and literally block the signal. So you're not going to have uninterrupted transmission for that. You'll have increased bandwidth for periods of time, which is good for data dumping, for dumping high resolution images and videos, but those are short bursts. That's not continuous.
Right. So regardless of even the live streaming, maybe they can do more. I saw like, I think it was like a daily interview, a few minutes each day. That's like 30 minutes at least of footage of the crew in the capsule doing something, but what they're doing is talking to the people. Are you privy of, or do you know if it's coming, or does it exist and I'm just not watching it yet? Footage of them doing work in the capsule, hanging out, doing other stuff, and how many minutes of that is there?
Well, there was video of them doing stuff in the capsule. When they were doing the proximity operations, we had video inside the capsule. It was low bandwidth at the time, I believe, but you could see them, doing work, and actually you could see Victor Glover's hands on the controls maneuvering the spacecraft. There's other video out there of them, more than just interviews, but there's other videos out there already of them taking a camera, moving it up to the window, looking at a urine dump out the window, seeing Earth out the window.
Remember that. But yeah, so little things like that. What do you know? Like, well, I'm thinking they were there for 200 hours. Do you think that we'll get that? There'll be 20 hours of them in the capture? Like, do you think there'll be like an hour?
I don't know how many hours we'll get of footage back. I'm sure we'll get more, but I couldn't tell you like how many hours we'll get. I mean, they had a pretty full schedule. They were testing this. This was a combination of Apollo 7 and Apollo 8 in one mission with less time. So
that's awesome. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. And it's like, I mean, my other man said earlier, like they're not doing, this is us. Like, this is our stuff. I want to be on a journey to the moon. I don't know how I would want 200 hours of all the hours that they're there. I hope it's available. I don't know if I'm a dumbass.
There's a lot of time that they're doing, hygiene activities, or someone's going to use the toilet or whatnot. They're not going to film that, right? I mean,
they could blur it out. They could blur that out.
Are you wanting 200 hours of video and a constant video?
I'm just saying it should
I think if I can
exist.
steel
Right?
man him, he wants a lot. He wants a lot, right? It's fair to say that you want what you would consider to be a sufficient amount, but not urinal stuff, and not when they're just like I don't know, like sleeping for 8 hours. Maybe show a couple hours of it or something, right? You want with a lot of data where you can wrap your mind around. Okay, this could actually be real. Yeah, with the tax money that they receive, we should be able to get constant live stream. I was just steel manning him, but I think the point is he wants more than I guess I don't know what's available now. There may be a lot.
I just want to know. I want to probably know.
The more they get, the more they're going to want.
Right.
But I'm asking him if he knows if it exists. Like, that's more the bigger point. Like, we don't even really know what's there, or then what do we want? You know what I mean? Like, it should be there.
I know there were additional videos that they shot on iPhone that they didn't downlink yet, because I don't even know if they had the ability to from the iPhones. I know they downlinked some images from the Nikons, but they also had iPhones up there that they were shooting video and pictures, and we'll get those too. So there's more coming for sure.
I'd like to ask you a question, Astronomy Live.
Yeah.
Based on the data and the work that you did and your expertise, I guess in a sense of doing this several times and building your own software, what have you, is there any way that this could have been misconstrued to be anything other than a spacecraft going to and from the moon?
No, absolutely not, because it moves unlike a natural object, and I don't just mean the orbit. Yes, the orbit is not consistent with anything you would expect a natural object to do. That is to say, it came from less than 200 kilometers altitude at perigee. It goes out to the moon. It goes around the moon on a free return trajectory. It comes back and splashes down in the ocean. That's all confirmed. Like, there's no denying that happened. But even more importantly, perhaps, is the fact that I saw it actively maneuvering. Because if you look at my observations, April 4th to April 5th, for example, they didn't do any trajectory correction maneuvers. Therefore, both those nights, the data lines up very nicely with a 1 arc-second root mean square error. But if you look at the observations as a whole, you try to solve for the orbit with all my observations in one big batch, it doesn't work. And you have to exclude at least the last day before reentry to get a modest solution that is still a bit janky. It's like about 8 seconds RMS now, because they were doing little course corrections along the way, 15 feet per second here, 15 feet per second there. But then as they get close to reentry, they really line that up, and they want to nail exactly the trajectory that they want to have during reentry, and they do multiple course corrections close to reentry. So the final day's observations, you almost have to take them by themselves a bit. It lines up, but not great. I mean, it's like a few arc minutes off, because now the spacecraft's maneuvering for reentry, and I'm seeing that in the data. Natural objects don't do that. Even a comet that has non-gravitational motion from jets of material coming off the comet, that's a constant force, or at least it's a somewhat constant force as it rotates and goes into sunlight, and some of the ice pockets start outgassing. Like, you have a much more consistent non-gravitational component. This doesn't move like that. It moves like it's purely under the effect of gravity when they're not maneuvering, and then suddenly there will be a maneuver, and now the orbit's changed a little bit. That's not something you ever see a natural object do. It is something you see spacecraft do.
Cool. Thank you for the explanation. Does anyone else have any questions?
Well, I was going to ask, in the real quick. Amphibious. Okay, in the tracking, I'll go first, real quick. In the tracking, when it was claimed to be going further and further, all the way to the moon and back, did the light get dimmer, and did that match the inverse square law? The amount of dimness, did that match with the distance claim?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It got dimmer, and the moonlight got brighter, and in that observation I did less than 24 hours after flyby, like, it's very marginal. It was hard to detect even with a 20-inch scope, because it is so close to the moon still, and there's so much moonlight, and the object itself is much dimmer than if you look at like my first night observations. It's so much brighter. It's this big bright streak to the telescope, and by the time it gets out to the moon, it's a faint little dot.
All right, I was just asking. I wasn't really trying to do a full back and forth. Just a quick question. But go ahead, Amphibious.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Astronomy Live, during his Cel-Theo debate with Alan, when he brought up his observations that were completely different methodology than what was being debated. Was that intentional dishonesty, or what was that?
Okay, that's not fair. That was not a completely different methodology than what was being debated. That was Cel-Theo methodology. Even Alan admitted it in the first debate and said he would go back and look at it when he realized that if he even if he just used the geometric angles didn't match up with what he was wanting, that it showed a lower error for the globe. Suddenly, then my observations weren't good enough. They were when Shane thought he could lie about it, and when he thought he could move the globe observer location to produce a higher globe error, which he tried. And then when I exposed that, oh, I'm a jerk for demanding they take it down, which he still hasn't done. It's still up on Shane's channel with no retraction. So no,
Okay,
I don't want to entertain this kind of nonsense. That was
Okay,
not
so
dishonest.
when
That was the celestial theodolite methodology applied to
No.
objects that are higher and further than what the mountains were that they were.
the Cel-Theo methodology can be replicated, your observation cannot be replicated. That was pointed out. That was pointed out during that was called out. That was called out during the
Total
first.
bullshit.
Why am I getting cut off? That I
That's
let you
bullshit.
finish. Okay, I let you finish.
Total bullshit. Total
That
bullshit.
was called out during that debate.
Okay,
And
look,
you
and
refuted
it's wrong.
You didn't
You
refute
can
it then.
replicate it.
Let's hear you try and refute it now.
As I said during the debate, his understanding of what replication is wrong and false. So is yours. That observation can absolutely be replicated. Anyone can go do this with airplanes. Anyone can go do this with
You
weather
couldn't
balloons,
even
and it
prove.
works.
You couldn't
Let him
even
finish.
know.
Let him finish.
Let him finish.
Oh my!
dude.
Hey, well, let's have the same standard for him, right? As me, please.
Wait, do flat earthers think that an
So,
experiment
hey,
should have the
stay out of
exact
this
same
real
result
quick.
every time?
So you should
that-
be able
is that what
to
an experiment is?
provide.
Dude, everybody just stop
Exactly.
for a second. Hold on. Astronomy Live was interrupted. Can we let him finish? Can we all go one at a time? Hold on,
Amphibious
Dylan.
was interrupted.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. They probably both were interrupted. Can you guys just go one at a time? I mean, if you're talking about when he originally brought it up in the first debate, is that what you're trying to claim? Because that he was just you're trying to claim that was dishonest. I think he was just bringing that data, and then Alan just said he hadn't looked at it yet. To me, that didn't seem like that was a dishonesty issue.
To my memory, no. To my memory, it was they were debating the Cel-Theo, and then instead of Astronomy Live arguing against those observations, right? He brought up this entirely different thing in the middle of it, and then said you can't argue against that, so that proves this whole thing wrong. And then
Can I get in on this?
to my memory, Alan was like, "This is completely different," and you just brought this out of nowhere. Oh, and also like Alan gave him all the information on the spreadsheets, all the data points was available for him to verify and confirm.
So I have a question that's back on
my
topic.
understanding months ahead. And then
I have a question back on topic because this is boring talking about something that's 3 months
Oh,
old.
is that objectively boring or is that subjectively?
Yeah,
Hold
Artemis.
on. Everybody stop for a second. We can go back to Artemis in a second. Let's give Astronomy Live the mic though, because he did get interrupted. Amphibious got interrupted as well. Amphibious said his point. Let's at least let Astronomy Live have the mic, and then we can go from there. We can go back to Artemis or whatever. But go ahead. Just let's not interrupt. Let him finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I do not have time to deal with the lies of Amphibious here. That method that I used was the celestial theodolite method applied to airplanes and weather balloons. Now, I'm telling you right now, you can replicate it yourself. You can go do this yourself. There's nothing stopping anyone from doing it. I used an RTL SDR to download the to download the coordinates directly from the planes in real time while also filming through the telescope, so that I know the altitude, the distance of the plane, etc. So yes, that is the celestial theodolite method, only instead of a mountain peak, I'm using an airplane. Now, that can be replicated. Anyone can do it. To suggest otherwise is dishonest. Now, what they want is do not interrupt me.
My God, I thought you were done. Let's calm down.
What they want is an airplane to hit exactly the same elevation that it did before and to see the same result repeated. You can do that if you point it at Polaris. So here's the deal. When the weather is good and I have the opportunity to sit under a flight route that's going direct north-south, and I can get planes repeatedly going over Polaris, I will do that. And Alan offered me $400 if I could repeat it in that way that he wanted, that I am getting multiple data points at the same elevation, angle, and distance. So, Amphibious, I have a question for you. Will you call Alan on his bullshit if, when I produce those observations, he does not pay me the $400 that he said he would pay me?
Yeah, if you meet all of his requirements, yeah, and he doesn't pay you, which I doubt he wouldn't do that. But if that's the case, yeah, of course I'll call him out on his bullshit. So let me revise what I meant by dishonesty. Right, he gave you all the time to review the data points before the debate, and it was just kind of an underhanded tactic that you used, where you brought up this new thing, expecting him to respond or to show that he doesn't have any refutation to this new thing that he can't even verify or look at. It just came off very underhanded and dishonest, in my opinion.
Okay, so we gave him as much time as he wanted to analyze the data and come back for part 2, which is what we did. He either, I guess you either don't understand or didn't pay attention to that debate where I said part 1, I literally finalized those results like a day or 2 before the debate. So I didn't have it to give him months in advance. This was stuff I was doing right up into the moment of the debate. Now,
so why even bring it up? Why bring that up in that
why
debate?
bring it up?
Yeah, why not say, hey, this observation I have to present.
Okay, no, sir. It makes perfect sense for me to bring up relevant data that directly contradicts his claims in a debate. Now, he's done that to Jesse, too, where he refused to give information that he already had that Jesse was asking for, and he tried to spring it on Jesse. So I find the hypocrisy hilarious. But
well,
again,
I would call that out if I saw that. I didn't see that he did that. But to say he did something wrong, so I'm going to act underhanded as well, that just, it's
providing
icky, bro.
fresh data
It's
is not acting underhanded.
I didn't think it was, from what I remember, it didn't to me seem like an issue that you brought the data. I think only maybe that you were somewhat expecting that Alan would have a response to it.
That's exactly the point. Yeah.
Gio, let me get in on this for a quick moment. That's exactly why we had a part 2. And when we did the part 2, we did that so that he could, in fact, analyze the data. And then at the end of the day, he just said that this repeatable observation wasn't repeatable. That's the only rebuttal he had for us.
Okay. So it wasn't the same kind of methodology.
No, it was
that was supposed to be. That was supposed to be debated. No, because the other Cel-Theo methodology is repeatable. You can't get the same elevation on the airplanes.
This is repeatable, and
no,
if
you would have to get the same exact observation.
No. Right. This is repeatable, right. And the reason why we can say that for a fact is that I offered. In fact, I asked him. He didn't have an answer for this, so I'm hoping you do. If I hired a pilot to fly the exact same route, would that be satisfactory? He didn't have an answer for that, so I'm going to ask you: would that be satisfactory to Cel-Theo? And would you be willing to come down to Florida to see that happen? Because I got money and I'm willing to burn some of it.
Yeah, I would be willing. I'm not too far away.
Okay, and would that be acceptable? Would that be the Cel-Theo in a nutshell? And would you call Alan out if he tries to get around that by moving the goalpost?
I would have to analyze all the data points.
But let's assume I hired a pilot and he promised, swear to God, hope to die, poke a needle in your eye to fly the exact same route, and we were to do that observation. I literally hired him to fly the same exact route because someone was wrong on the internet. Would you accept the results in that case? Would you accept that that was Cel-Theo? And would you call out Alan for trying to move the goalpost when he inevitably moves the goalpost?
Hypothetically, if I verified all these steps were the same as the Cel-Theo and the aircraft flew the exact same route, and you got, you confirmed that those first measurements were correct. Yeah, of course I would. Any evidence? So, I'm not going to dismiss truth. I'm not going to dismiss truth because it goes against what I believe.
Because what it seems like you're saying is that in order for this to be quote unquote repeatable via your definitions, that flight would have to be flown exactly the same night after night. Well, I can hire a pilot to do just that. Would that be repeatable via your definition?
Yeah, I would have to confirm that the same techniques were used.
What other techniques would be used to fly a plane other than?
No. I'm talking about using the theodolite the proper way and utilizing all the correct mathematics to show if there was a drop over distance or not.
Okay, what would be disqualifying? You say you do it properly. Is the way? Let's assume that Astronomy Live did the exact same way. The only difference this time being I hired a pilot to fly the route. Would you have any problem with the methodology he did with planes that were not hired?
You're talking planes that repeated the same trajectory, or what? What are you talking?
Let's say he did the exact same observation in the same exact way. The only difference this time is that I hired a pilot to fly the same route multiple times. Would that be sufficient? And basically, you would not even hesitate to say that, yes, this is Cel-Theo, this is legitimate, this is repeatable. Alan doesn't have anywhere to hide at this point. Would that be sufficient?
You would spread this flight trajectory. It would be multiple different instances, right? It wouldn't all be in the same day or anything like that.
I said multiple nights. So we could do it one night, and then we're going to do multiple passes, wait 24 hours for the next night, do it again, thus it being repeatable. So if we did that, and Astronomy Live were to make the same exact measurements that he made last time, would that be sufficient?
I can't answer yes or no on that. I have to do more digging.
And that's the problem. That's the problem, because the reason why I'm asking these very pointed questions is that I want to establish a goalpost. I don't want this goalpost to be moved later on. But if you're not willing to give me a definite answers, a definite target to aim for, then how can we be confident that you're not just going to move it later?
Time out just for a second. Just for a second. I want to say that even judges will take a 5-minute recess to go do the research. So if he's saying he just needs to do a little more research, he's not saying no, in my opinion.
What do you say? How long is a week enough? A week? Can you do that by next Sunday? Will you have enough research to be able to look into it to give a definitive?
Yeah. I want to watch the second part of. I want to watch the second debate.
Even a judge will tell you whether or not there's sufficient evidence to move forward with a case immediately. All right. And that's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for a definitive standard that this guy has. If this guy has a standard that he wants us to reach, that's perfectly fine. I'm more than happy to meet that standard. But I need to be assured that that standard is not going to be moved later on when it inevitably doesn't go his way or in the way of Alan. So that is exactly why I'm asking for a solid standard, a solid goalpost that's not going to be moved. And that's why I asked. If Astronomy Live did the exact same thing, but I hired a pilot to fly the exact same route, would that be sufficient? And that does warrant a yes or no answer.
Assuming that it is all in the up and up, yes, of course. Like I said, I will not dismiss evidence that goes against my beliefs because I think that I am a truth seeker. So
understood. So if Astronomy Live did the exact same thing, but I hired a pilot, would that be on the up and up?
Like I said, I have to confirm there's no refutations against this method because off the top of my head, I can't.
This is the Cel-Theo method.
That's why I said, assuming that this is all on the up and up, completely same as the Cel-Theo method.
You are folding yourself into a pretzel so that you have a way out of this.
I don't do that. I'm being honest.
You're doing that right. You're doing that right now.
I'm not trying to set up for a goalpost shift. Like you're trying to say.
That's what they all say. We haven't been satisfied so far. That's why I'm asking these very pointed questions.
Yeah, and I gave you a very
you came in here with
sufficient answer. I would say I gave you a sufficient answer. I said,
but you came in here. Hold on, one second. You came in here with the confidence to call Astronomy Live a liar, right? Straight to his face.
Nope.
And basically tried to discredit the work that he's put in. But you can't answer a simple question of a method that you clearly know so much about, is to confront someone.
Yeah, never accuse them. Never accuse them of being a liar.
Oh, you most certainly did.
You're making things up now. You're hallucinating.
If I recall correctly, you basically.
When did I call him a liar?
You basically said that he did something in a dishonest fashion as to try and Okay, that's basically calling him a liar.
That's your opinion. That I don't think that's basically
calling
a liar.
Dishonesty is lying, I think.
I see spin. Hang on one second.
Having a dishonest tactic is not directly lying.
Let me get it on this. So this is why we're trying to avoid these accusations in the future. So if we did exactly everything exactly the same, supposedly Alan had no problem with it because Shane, his favorite friend in the whole wide world, was willing to utilize Astronomy Live's measurements when he thought he could get away with framing it in a certain way that was beneficial to him. So clearly the method that Astronomy Live was using with the planes was good enough, but now the issue came with the plane itself. So assuming that I'm able to hire a pilot to fly a predetermined route over 2 consecutive nights, everything should be on the up and up. So assuming we actually do it, assuming you're there to witness it, and we go over the math together, and there is nothing, nefarious going on. We're not, hijacking the telescope with real-time CGI or some bullshit like that. You would be willing to accept that as actual Cel-Theo. It would be actually against Alan using his methodology, and it would be repeatable by your definition, correct?
If everything was on the up and up, yes.
Okay. Would that make it on the up and up? If everything I said came to fruition, would that make it on the up and up?
Like I said, I would have to confirm that it is the same methodology, and I have to listen to their refutations on why it isn't.
And if
I have to connect
it,
those to my mind. And if everything checked out,
you have to connect those to your mind. Wow. Okay.
If everything checked out, then yes.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. I think you're going to try to find something that quote unquote doesn't check out, a thing that was a standard that you didn't tell us at the time. Well, you actually should have done it this way, then it would have worked out. Well, you should have told us to do it that way at the very beginning. So do you see anything wrong with how Astronomy Live did it so far that we should correct for this time? Or do you guys not have those answers?
You guys are accusing Alan and Shane of doing that very thing, right? And,
yeah, but this is why we're having this conversation, so that you can't make that accusation in the future.
So my point was after further investigation, further thought into something, one can't change their opinion or their mind on it.
What I'm saying is, what we want is an actual target. All right, let me put it to you this way. Would you be willing to write down your criteria? Astronomy Live has to do this. Astronomy Life has to do that. Astronomy Life has to do this. The pilot has to fly the same route. It has to be over 2 nights. Can you write down your list of demands? And are you willing, after writing that, to sign it and agreeing that it cannot be changed after the fact? And if we meet all those bullet points, you will accept that Alan was full of shit, or that the Cel-Theo does not confirm flat Earth at the very least. Are you willing to do that and put it in black and white with your signature on it?
So that would just go against what they found with the Cel-Theo method, where there was no drop over distance.
That's not an answer to my question. My question is, are you willing to put your criteria, your standard, in black and white, these goals that we have to meet in order for you to be satisfied? Are you willing to put those goals in writing and sign it and date it so it can't be changed later? Are you willing to do that?
So your first question was, would I call Alan out on being full of shit? And I would say, if this happened and everything checked out, I wouldn't say he was full of shit. I would say, well, that goes directly against these Cel-Theo observations before, where the mountain occluded the star, right? I would say, well, that's weird, because that goes directly against what they've already done.
And the second part?
What do you mean?
The second part where I said, are you willing to put your criteria, your standards, the things that we need to hit in black and white? Are you willing to write that shit down with your signature on it and dated so it can't be changed later? For example, Astronomy Life has to do this, he has to do this, he has to do this. It has to be over 2 consecutive nights. The pilot has to fly the same route for those 2 consecutive nights over and over again. Are you willing to put all those goals on paper? Therefore, we have an actual standard to hit. And are you willing to sign it so that it can't be changed later?
What's the timeline on this?
Whenever you want.
Okay, yeah, because I'm going to need longer than a week or whatever you just said. I am admittedly not the most intelligent when it comes to this stuff. I take longer to make sure
that's
of things.
Fine. That's fine. If you want to take your time and think about what goals we need to hit in order for this to be a thing, then so be it. The question is, are you willing to do it at all?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so here's what I would like for you to do. I would like for you to get in contact with whoever you need to contact. Usually with Shane and Alan, it's ChatGPT, but get in contact with whoever you need to get in contact with. Write down the goals. We need to do this. We need to do it this. We need to do it in this particular way. It has to be done over 2 consecutive nights. It has to be a hired pilot that we can interview after the fact, blah, blah, blah. Write down those points. Write down those goals that we need to hit. Once you have those laid out in black and white where you would be comfortable signing your name to it, DM me on Discord and we will set that up. And I will literally set money on fire to get this done for you. Because quite frankly, I'm tired of hearing about this shit.
Sounds good, brother.
Excellent. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you very much and have a good one.
Yeah. Yep, I'm also going to sign off. Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Signing later.
It's like Flat Earth Shark Tank.
Well, that was cool, Gio. That was cool, Gio. You had Rhetoric on here. That was really cool.
It really just boils down to what he's going for is, are you willing to hold yourself to the same standard that you hold others to? It's as simple as that.
Am I willing to hold myself to the same standard? First off, I didn't invest all this time into
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Into the methodology, into understanding.
You see him peeing and pooping.
I'm not saying that it's a slight. I'm just saying that's simply what it is to show, so that you can't change. I wouldn't want to be able to change the goalpost after I've agreed to something. I would want to be thoroughly researched, just like you said. That's why I even spoke up about the week.
Yeah, but
I understand.
Yeah, but they I think there's a fine line between shifting goalposts and realizing something that you didn't before. And obviously you would have to,
see, it kind of boils down to a point that we sort of started with hours ago. I don't know if you were here at the time. I think you were, but the point was sort of put out there that I think, yeah, you were here because you called me out, rightfully so, I think, about collectively saying all flat earthers do this, something to that effect, where I sort of categorized every flat earther. And you were right to do that. But the point is like, the reason that it's important is so you can't lie to yourself, right? And I wouldn't want to be able to lie to myself and just say, oh, well, then it has to be something else because it can't be real. Like, that's just being dishonest. And that's what we're trying to avoid. And that's what you're trying to avoid, I would like to imagine. Everyone that really is seeking truth. That's all I'm saying.
But to claim someone is just shifting the goalpost when they have a legitimate reason or a legitimate realization on something that when they first said something, but now it has to be legitimate, right? Because then That's how you decipher it.
That's the literal definition of moving the goalpost, by the way.
No, it's not. If you have a legitimate reason, what you
Well,
can
if they balk, if they literally balked on if they reneged on what you guys agreed on, then yeah, that's legitimate, right?
No,
that's like breaking
reneging in itself is not legitimate. You see that?
What I'm saying though is like, short of that, you agreed to the terms. Like, what else is there? It doesn't need to be complicated. You're overcomplicating it. Give me 1 second.
Well, it doesn't change.
I think they were conflating. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I don't think you can lump
on my behalf.
Go ahead.
I think that's a really easy test. Just
hold on, Chief Squatting Dog. Rucky was trying to go. It was 2 false starts. Let's give it a third. Go ahead, Rucky. Not from his fault. He got interrupted twice. Your mic's a little low, Rucky, but go ahead. We got you.
I don't think there's any way to lump, one group or another into, one thing, because I would never, no matter what the lights in the sky were doing, if you flew an airplane upside down or in loop-to-loops or over mountains or whatever they're doing, right, would change my mind about anything. So it wouldn't even matter to me.
It's using trigonometry to see if there's a drop over distance, though. So it's not just saying, hey, this is what the lights in the sky are doing. Like, we're actually trying to measure curvature.
But it's still an
from our vantage
point. What are you measuring it with?
Use a theodolite, see the occlusion, and then try and get that triangle, right?
Okay. So we're back to using theodolites over what distance again?
What?
I don't even know how far they said the aircraft was. I got to read.
I did want to say one thing too. This wasn't even about the shape of the Earth. It was just literally about Shane's representation of the Cel-Theo. So I'm going to step off for a second. I'll be listening.
Yo, Icy. Thank you.
No
I don't even understand the gripe with Shane's. I guess whatever he did that was claimed to be shifting the goalpost. So I don't even know what he did to address this.
I mean,
you'll
understand.
When was that second Cel-Theo debate between Alan and Astronomy Live? When was it?
Just look on Red's channel. You'll find both of them in the recent lives.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was like a couple weeks after. Yeah, I'm sure it's on his channel. I don't know if Alan mirrored it as well or recorded it as well. It might be on his channel too. Space audits.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, that whole thing of getting someone to like sign on the dotted line, that is interesting. I mean, I guess like that would go into like if you really want to like convince someone, or if you want somebody to like publicly, renounce a position or something. I suppose that would go to that end. But it is kind of an interesting idea. But yeah, I guess one would have to get into what, if somebody's like writing down all of the components, like doing this test in this exact way, and then, will they sign on the dotted line, as it were, that whatever the results are, they're going to agree with, and then they're going to, whether there would be some other stipulations, like they're going to publicly state it, or, I imagine that the goal would not be just to like convert one person or something, to pay $20,000.
Well, it's not even about
pilots and stuff to try to convert someone, or is it more of kind of a public thing, like you'd want to get a bunch of people to sign it? It's tough. I mean, because any experiment you do, they're going to be contested by people no matter what.
Yeah. It's not even that complicated. Really, all it is to just let my train of thought. I'll say it again. I lost my train of thought. Someone interrupted me.
Well, if you're going to do a test, like if you have some contention between two ideas and you're going to do a test, you could just do the test, submit the data, and that's it. Or you could have a peer review system, or like that route of like, having somebody like put together the demands, basically sign on the dotted line, that they agree to this and that. I'm just saying it's all different approaches to all of this, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's not about forcing someone's hand to try and trick them, sleight of hand and everything, right? That's not the reason for the exercise. The reason for the exercise is so that you put it on paper and you know what the bet is. It's going to be on the up and up. There's not going to be any funny business. It's not meant to make you look stupid. The terms will be written down, right? Let's just say A, B, and C have to happen. If B doesn't happen, or B doesn't happen in the way that a reasonable person, right, would expect it to happen, like the plane flies left instead of right, and the agreement was it was supposed to fly left, like, it's not going to be like, oh, well, we had it happen. We didn't like say specifically. Like, it's not meant to be like a trick, right? Or like to corner you. It's meant so that everyone is holding each other accountable. And when I think you started speaking, you spoke in a fashion that was holding Astronomy Live's feet to the fire in a way that obviously he found less than on the up and up on your end. And so if you're going to put pressure on him, of course, you've got to expect for him to come back at you when he's got the goods. And believe me, he's got the goods.
No, you're referring to Amphibious?
Astronomy Live when Amphibious, right. Not you, Gio, excuse me. Yeah, but yeah, right.
But the point is that, hey, if you put your like, even if it's not money, right? Put your name on the line. That should be good enough for you to be able to accept it. And it's not meant to be tricky. So that's all I want to.
Yeah, I mean, that was my whole contention, was his tactic, how it came off. I would say objectively, but maybe that would be wrong of me to say. During the first Cel-Theo debate with Alan, I did come at him sideways. That was intentional, you know. So I guess he can. I would just want to see how he reacted, because he deserves to be called out for that. That was
It's all good. We're all big
you know what
boys
I mean?
here.
Yeah. So
Big deal.
so if he wants to hold me to the same standard, I mean, I never went on a debate. I didn't make any certain claims, you know. So I don't know how he could hold me to that standard, but I will be honest. I will.
You did make a claim. You claimed he was dishonest.
Said he used a dishonest tactic. I didn't even claim that he did. I asked. I said, "Were you being dishonest?" Was that a dishonest?
All right, we don't need to rehash this. We already talked about the fact that you came at him sideways, right? You literally just said that, and that was intentional, right? These are all you're basically implicating. You're justifying a reason for using a less than ideal tactic. Call it. We don't need to label it per se. Let's just say you came at him, and he came back at you and said, "Bet," right? That's the deal. And it doesn't look good if you're going to say, "Oh, well, you know what? I was just kidding," or I don't know so much about this now. Now I need to double research," which he gave you leeway, right? And I even spoke up for you. That's totally reasonable. But the point is, hold yourself accountable when you're willing to snap someone off in public and try to make them look silly on behalf of Alan or whatever.
No,
you get where we're coming from.
Yeah, but I wasn't cheerleading for Alan. I was just calling him out on what I saw. I didn't make a claim. He couldn't come back to me and say, "But this is right because of this, this, and that," because that wasn't what I was coming after him about. So even though he may have the goods, my whole point was he did it in an underhanded way where Alan couldn't respond. And I asked him if that was his intention or not.
Okay, well, what you need to do, and when you put your terms down, you need to include that part, because that's super important.
You're breaking up a bit.
It was in a dishonest tactic, or you need to kind of get to the bottom of it. I'm breaking up. Get to the bottom of what the issue was. Or maybe that's better. Get to the bottom of what the issue was that you had with the way it was represented to Alan, and then see if you can include something to that effect that will make you feel good about the results, to avoid whatever tactic. I don't know, but you've got to address these things that are bothering you about it, or you're just going to find a way to pawn it off again. I think, right?
Pawn it off again. So you're accusing me of
what I'm saying is like
moving the goalpost.
No, I'm not accusing you. No, what I'm saying is
you just use the words again.
Listen to me.
You implied that I already did that.
All it's doing is holding you to a standard so you can't weasel out of it a week later.
The point is,
it's really hard to understand.
There's sort of two things. Can I just say this real quick? There's like two things going on. One of them, I think what people generally thought in the Astronomy Live debate, the first one with Alan in Astronomy Live, I think it was just that Alan came with all the Cel-Theo data and they were going to go over that. And it was just that Astronomy Live had this other data, acquiring the data with a different technique, like using airplanes and so on and so forth, using a different technique. And I think Alan, and I think in that debate, the vibe was a little bit that Astronomy Live was kind of bringing that, being like, "Hey, here's my proof that it's a globe with this other data." And I just think it took Alan aback. He's like, "Well, wait a minute, I haven't looked over that data. I can't really confirm that yet." And then there was a little bit of tension in there, but then they agreed, "Okay, cool. If you need time to go over it, we'll do it in the next debate." And then Reds was mentioning there what his interpretation of what happened in the second debate. So
they were here a minute ago. Gia. Honestly, I would appreciate if we don't get too much into everything that they can't really defend themselves on at this point, because that's kind of like substantial to like his character, right? So like I would appreciate us like staying away from like the accusation or whatever. All I'm trying to tell, I'm so sorry, man. Amphibious, excuse me. I sent you a friend request, by the way. You can either communicate with like myself or Reds or Astronomy Live. We're all very reachable. But the point is like, yeah, it's about holding yourself accountable. And when I said pawn it off again, what I'm saying is the things that are important to you. Okay, I might have misspoke saying it again, and I apologize. But what is important to you to make these results valid? Put those down on paper and go over them. Don't be afraid to bring them up, right? If they're really important to you and you want the truth and you want the results to be meaningful to both parties, then write it down and figure out a way to work it into the bet or whatever. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, these two things play into each other, because however one feels about how that new data was brought, it sounds like Reds was saying that he's willing to finance some kind of, hire a pilot and so on to replicate it. So it is connected, because it's like that data. And then if there's contesting that, he sounds like he might be willing to hire a pilot and to try to replicate it. And then it's understandable that he would want some kind of, I guess it just depends on, like I said before, though, what like your intention is. Like if you want, what you want from that. If you want someone to sign like, "Hey, if these experimental, components are met, then what's okay? You signed your name, and then what? What comes out of that?
He already said he said you would be willing to back me on agreeing that Shane is full of shit, quote unquote.
It's about
There was no money. There was nothing else discussed. He just wants him to understand that obviously Reds and Astronomy Live have dealt with these guys, and you can say both sides probably feel a certain way about one another, right? But like the point is they feel passionately. Reds and Astronomy Live feel passionately enough, and that they want you to see what they see with Shane and with Alan. That's all he's saying, right?
Well, first off, if everything went, assuming the way you guys say it, or the way you guys think it will go, why would I call Alan and Shane? Why would I say they're full of shit? Because they've made observations with the occlusion from the mountain peak, right?
Because they won't consider other data. You said it.
Could they be falsifying the data?
You don't. Yeah, you don't.
I guess I gotta watch.
No,
I guess I gotta watch the
Hold
second.
on. You said you were a truther, and so you want to know the truth, so you wouldn't deny other facts or measurements. So that's what they're saying. They're denying these facts and measurements.
Okay, yeah,
you said you wouldn't, so that's the difference.
Yeah,
but trying to speak for.
Yeah,
well, go ahead. Well, I mean, trying to speak for someone else though, like, what does it really? What does that even mean? Like, that the Cel-Theo method is not valid or is valid, or I mean, someone being full of shit. What does that even mean? Like, that's a very generalized statement, and it's kind of tough to try to like pin it on someone else. Can I just say real quick though, the thing about well, go ahead, Amphibious. Actually, I'll bring my other thing up later. I guess I was going to bring up something else. Well, I mean, it's similar, but I was just going to say, like, okay, I'll just say it now quickly, and then it's like, dude, if somebody was going to do like a curvature test, like Wesley, I'll say it to you, like if someone was going to do a curvature test, we've talked about freezing a column of water and putting it, whatever. If someone were to do all that, even like if you were to sign down, like, okay, you do it this way, do it that way, even if you signed on it, but if you weren't there in person and somebody gave you a bunch of video of it and it showed lack of curve, does that really mean you're going to change your whole worldview? You know what I mean? So it's kind of tough, that idea, like having someone sign and like, now if you want them to like renounce their position or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that enough to really go off of just by someone else doing things that you can't ultimately verify? I mean, even if they hire a pilot, there might be a gust of wind that blows the pilot into a different position. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many.
He's going to be there. That's the whole point. He said.
Yeah, couldn't that also be held true for Alan? Like, how do we know he's just not full of shit and just like offsetting his timer by like 3 seconds?
All right, well, here's the thing. Those guys had a debate with Alan, so they're back. They've gone back and forth. They've had debates. The thing is, though, like, first of all, Mike Heffron was the one who had, as far as I know, it was the one who first came up with the Cel-Theo method. Alan and others have continued to do a lot of the research and calculations and getting more data. I think in this combo, though, it doesn't really have to be about Alan or about any person. Although I guess that was what Rez was trying to say. They're trying to debunk those guys, basically. Well,
that's literally the bet. It's just because he's sick of them. To quote Rez, and even if he's listening right now, he'll tell me that I quoted him. He's just sick of this shit, right? And if you can join the cause or you can see what's going on, he'll feel like he accomplished something. He has money to blow. I forget exactly what he said, but to get his jollies or whatever, something to that effect. And if you are willing to do it and you're willing to say, hey, yes, I will hold up to my end of the bargain, which again is not a bet, then he'll fucking get you to where you need to be, and he'll let you, be in control of whatever you can be in control of, right? Feasibly. Like, he's a good dude. He will make sure that you are feeling good about the whole thing. Literally, no one has ever taken him up. I've seen him extend all kinds of offers to Demok, right? He offered him $2,000 for, what was it? Or maybe it was 1,000, but it was either 1,000 or 2,000 for 2 hours of his time. Like, things like this, dude. Like, literally just to talk about the things that bother him. He does not give a fuck. He's not trying to win money. He's not trying to embarrass you publicly. The point is he wants to hold people accountable for the bullshit. And so that's the way that he's approaching it. And you can rest assured that it's on the up and up. Whatever you guys put on paper is what the bet will be. So that's all I have to say though. Go ahead, Wes, or Amphibious, excuse me.
Yeah, my whole claim with shifting the goalposts type deal is like there is that fine line between a reasonable like a reasonable thing you would change your position. Say, oh, I didn't think about this. Let's say I make this list and it meets all my demands at that current time, but then I come to the realization that I left something out, something critical. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense now that I think about it because I would have needed to do this. Then if I had that legitimate reason to recant my position and say this was the same methodology and it directly refutes Alan and Shane's claims, which I don't even know how that would, because then you just have to say, well, why is it so inconsistent with the Cel-Theo, with the mountains occlusion, right? So that's
what you bring up, man. When you're talking to him, bring it up. Say, hey, if I have something that comes up, can I change it? See what the fuck he says. I don't know what he's going to say.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's
y'all.
reasonable. There is obvious. It comes down to that discernment where you go, well, that's a kind of like a common sense, obvious goalpost shift.
Yeah, but IC Spin doesn't have any common sense. I don't know why the fuck we're talking to this retard.
Who's that guy? Oh, Blob. Oh God, who let you in here? Anyways, yeah, they'll be on the up and up. That's all I would say. If you want to say something else, great. If somebody else wants to interject or change topic, then have fun. I'm gonna go on mute.
Well, I was also just commenting. I mean, that's kind of a tough thing to put someone in that position, I think, like, especially if it involves another third party. Like, if there's one group, like, let's say Rhetoric and Astronomy Live, that are trying to, let's say, debunk Alan and Shane, if I'm just using those names for the moment, like, even though there's more than just Alan and Shane, but those are the names he brought up, and then you're asking a third person to, like, basically sign on the dotted line about some experiment, that then that third person would then do what? Like, go and try to call out one of, whoever is wrong or whatever, to go and make some kind of public statement. I don't know. It depends on what the end goal of that would be. I mean, I think doing experiments or further tests is always good. And I can understand the idea of trying to get people to, if you really want to either change minds or have some kind of, influence of like shift within the worldview of things.
I can tell you right now, let me answer that because I know the answer to this. If he can show Amphibious what he wants to show Amphibious, then Reds wins. That's all it is. He doesn't have to do a public statement. He's not gonna parade him around like his puppet. None of that garbage. He wants them to know, and that's good enough for him. But just have the chat with him, man. Bring these things up. It's not super complicated to have a conversation. If you do it, great. If not, who cares? He'll find someone else maybe somewhere. Not a big deal.
But I got a question. Because I've been kind of positing this thing in the side chat for a while now. Just kind of on the celestial sphere. I keep hearing the excuse over and over and over and over again of, oh, it's just because our eyes cause distortion, right? As to why we see like the stars do this stupid shit, right? Wouldn't it just be evident if we get like two different lenses on a camera that the angles between objects would be different? If like what y'all are saying is actually the case?
I haven't spent enough time on the occlusions and shit to answer that.
Oh no, it's not even well, it's not even just the occlusion. It's just every excuse ever of, oh, it's due to perspective that the stars seem to do what they do. Like I hear over and over and over again that the reason why the stars seem to go down at any kind of level is because of perspective, and the stars are actually at a stationary flat level, or I should say stationary, but they're moving around at one level in the sky like a giant pizza disc, but they just appear to be going in a dome shape.
Why would you say that? How would you assume they stay the same elevation?
How would you? I assume I just hear that from flat earthers, unless you have a counter theory.
Chief, the other half of that is they say the interpretation, right? The brain's interpretation. So changing the lens isn't really the full scope of it.
Sure. Again, like their misinterpretation time and time again as to how like the actual physics of it works. Like perception is just laughable because you don't measure it from from the sides of your eyeballs. You look directly at one object, you turn your head to face another object, and you are calculating the distance that your head turns.
So I'm assuming you're acting in good faith. So I have a good faith question. If I have a drone right over my head and I instruct the drone to fly 5 miles due west, is there any kind of lens that's going to keep it from appearing to get closer and closer to the horizon as it gets further and further away?
That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, I'll stand corrected. Please continue.
No, what I'm purely talking about is them trying to use perspective and quote unquote just how our eyes work in order to try and come up with some excuse as to why the stars dip down, or at least let me find that exact calculator that Geo's posted before, where it shows the star maintaining the same elevation moving outward, or the sun maintaining the same elevation moving outward, and then it appearing to go in like a curved pattern.
Yeah.
Like
so are you?
Wait, you said dip down.
Yeah.
Sorry, you said. Wait, isn't that what I was talking about the drone doing, dipping down towards the horizon?
Dipping down. I'm not saying it's going to bring it back up. I don't know where you're getting this from.
I'm just trying to understand what you're saying, right? Because when you said dip down, that's what I was talking about the drone doing, and you said that's not what you're talking about. When you're talking about the stars dipping down, what do you mean?
Okay, let me draw this out for you.
Well, I can't look. I'm driving.
Okay.
Just,
well, I'm
I have a really good imagination.
For the audience.
That's absolutely fine.
Okay. So because I hear perspective being argued time and time again, I'm kind of tired of it because I can't stream. Never mind. Because it doesn't actually follow through with any logical consistency in how things are measured and how angles between objects are measured. And that's why we end up with really dumb models where something behind us appears in front of us.
So you realize your claims of it not working with the measurements, you realize these measurements that you're speaking of are not of sound reason, right? They are presumed distances.
Do you think we can measure distances?
Do I think think that we know how far these celestial objects are? No.
Do you think that it can be known the distance between Miami, Florida, and LA?
Of course.
Okay, so if I were to have a star directly above LA and I'm viewing it from Florida, I know the distance from myself to the ground position, correct?
Well, so you are committing a fallacy. All right. So
okay,
you're not discerning how we measure on Earth versus things we cannot get to. Completely different. We can
explain to me
we
the
can
fallacy.
traverse.
Why can we not measure when they
false
can measure?
equivalency? False equivalency
Okay, there's
fallacy.
no false equivalency anywhere in what I'm saying.
Yeah, there is.
No,
You're saying that it's equivalent.
Please.
Can I talk? Can I talk?
Okay.
You're saying it's equivalent to measure celestial objects as it is to measure the land we can traverse.
So, do you know what a GP is?
Enlighten me.
Okay, so you don't know what a GP is, yet you waste 38 seconds of my time saying that I was
Ground
making
position?
a fallacy, right? Yeah, ground
Come on.
position. There you go. So you wasted
What's-
38 seconds of my life to say that I'm like equating something in the sky to the ground when GP literally means ground position.
Where
But I'm
you
supposed to allow you to
where
continue
you
to
are
speak over
standing,
me, right?
so where
Yeah.
you are standing on the
Yes.
ground,
Yes.
measuring something that is outside, quote unquote, of our atmosphere,
No,
in a void of space.
Yeah, I am directly at a location and I am looking
So
in
yes,
another direction, right?
that was a
No.
concession?
No, because I'm asking you between Miami and LA. You said yes, you can know the distance from Miami to LA. Therefore, I should be able to know the distance from Florida to my ground position in LA. Because again, we're saying it's in LA. You already conceded that we can know the distances between those two cities. Case in point right there. Nothing else should come out of your mouth after that. And regardless of the distance, do you think that if the star was like 500 miles up versus 50 billion miles up, if it would make any kind of difference?
What are you saying?
The problem with that is you're measuring that star vertical to the surface from zenith to nadir on a single point.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. I'm looking straight up and I'm seeing a star. Nothing of substance was said out of that statement there.
Nothing of substance was said by you saying I conceded something because I told you, yes, we can measure distances on the Earth.
Yes, and that's exactly what a ground position is.
Okay.
It's a distance. It is a location on the Earth, correct?
But you are measuring something outside of the Earth, correct?
What am I measuring? Other than the distance between Miami and LA?
No, you're trying to equivalent that with measuring to a star.
What am I measuring to the star? What in any of my statements did I say I was measuring something to my star yet?
What are you talking about, dude?
No, what are you talking about? When did I ever say anything about measuring to a star?
Because that's
you referenced the star above you.
That was the whole premise.
Okay, so I bring up star.
Are you okay,
therefore,
dude?
I'm saying I measure star. Crizzle, can you speak English, please?
Are you okay, dude? Like that was the whole premise we were talking about.
Oh, now it's about language. It's always about language when you can't win an argument because that star, you're measuring that from zenith to nadir, vertical to a single point on the surface. That's what you're doing.
I don't care. Can we get past this point? He's just talking about trigonometry and measuring elevation, and he wants to know if we know how far it is from Florida to LA.
That's all I'm asking is
So
Florida to LA right now.
What is your point with that?
Okay.
You're saying I conceded something. I just agreed that we can measure. Did you concede that it's a false equivalency to say we measure the same as we do in space as we do on
Did I
Earth?
say anything about measuring the distance to a star?
That's the whole point that we've been talking about.
That's not even where I've gone to yet. You're just making stupid leaps right now.
You're
Can you please pay
delusional,
attention to what I'm saying?
No, you're disregarding where we started off.
What were the
Why you
2
even
points that I
brought
talked
up-
about so far?
Why you even brought up measuring from Miami to LA or whatever? The whole reason we brought this up was because we were talking about measuring to celestial objects. Can you not? Do you have amnesia? What is going
I
on
haven't
here?
even gotten to that part of my argument yet, and you're already trying to say I'm making a fallacy
You're pretending.
about the star.
You're hallucinating that we didn't ever talk about measuring.
What
to the
were the
stars.
2 points that I brought up?
That we can measure celestial
No,
objects
the exact
because we can
2
measure
points.
You were-
I gave 2 locations.
First, you were arguing.
You brought it in.
For some reason, you were trying to argue against our perception. You were trying to argue against the ocular dome of vision that we have and the vanishing
ocular
point.
dome of vision.
And the vanishing point, and that how things drop down over distance. You're trying to argue against that, which makes no fucking
Can I
sense
know
at
the
all.
actual angle between a star and the horizon?
Yes.
To the apparent,
understand.
star and the apparent horizon. Yes.
Sure, so I can know that, right? But let's get back to what I was talking about,
To-
right? Because
to
you're a little
your-
babbling.
How you're measuring those stars? You're measuring them in a
How
straight
many people am I
line.
gonna have to talk over? Can
All
you be
they're
quiet, Chris,
measuring-
while I'm speaking? It's supposed
all
to be like a
they're
one-on-one. Okay, now
all
there's a
they're-
third dog.
Let me just say this real quick. All they're measuring is the height of the star in the sky. It has nothing to do with how far away it is. It's just the height of the star.
It's just an angle.
From their ground point. Yeah,
Angle to the star.
It has no. It don't matter how far away it is. It could be a mile away, or it could be a trillion miles away. It makes no difference. It's just the point in the sky that you're measuring an angle to.
That's why I was saying it doesn't matter if the star is 500 miles up or 5 billion miles up, right? But again, this guy got lost in the weeds because I talked about two specific points, and that was Miami and LA. If you know that a star, if you look straight up, okay, now there's a fit dog.
The trivia here pretty soon. There's just some things going on here at home, and I'm waiting for some people to leave before I start doing this. Okay, so 4:30.
Hold on, Andrew, your mic's really low. We can't really hear you.
Wow. Okay.
Real quick. So what was the point of you bringing that up? I don't disagree with you if you're using your GP, you don't need to know the distance from the star. I was saying we don't know the distance from the star. You were saying how flat earthers say that it's a specific height and then they claim for it to drop. Why do you have to interrupt? Let me get out.
Okay.
Let me get out my position, because you clearly don't understand it.
Hold on, before you do, hold on, you guys, Andrew is starting a trivia, so people can go into live stream too, and if enough go down there, we can turn that live stream on as well. But Andrew is going to do a trivia event in a moment here, and Andrew, once you get your mic up, let us know. But so if you guys want to say your final point, so Amphibious, if you want to say your last point, and then Chief Squatting Dog, if you guys want to try to wrap it up.
My mic might be a little off, but I'm talking as loud as I can at the moment.
Yeah, I'll drop down to Veach. I'll drop down to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be able to.
The logical conclusion to any celestial dome that you will want to bring up is that the stars would have to be at a fixed elevation wherever they are in the celestial dome.
All right, he popped into live stream too. If you want to continue that, do you want to? I mean, if enough people go down there, we can fire up it actually as a live stream. But I think he
can't
can
even see where he is in live stream too.
He's in there.
Oh, it's because it's not dropped down. I see.
This is it's a trivia.
I can't even click on it. If you could just drag me in there.
We should be able to, but I'll move you in there if you want to go.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, guys. So Andrew's going to be doing trivia here. It looks like once he gets his mic set up, and then we'll have the other combos in live stream too to continue.
We're doing it here. We don't have to move.
Yeah, the trivia is going to be in here, and then other combos can be in the live stream too.
Nice.
So wait, Gio, is the trivia going to be in live stream too, or the conversation continue?
No, I think it'll be here. Although Andrew just popped in there.
That's what I was wondering. Hold on, what's going on?